everyone, this is Benjamin. Today I am going to do another video of me versus Pablo. But before I get that started, I'm going to do 20 puzzles, explanations, do a couple of chess puzzles with some explanations on it, and then after that, get into the game. I decided that after the loss I endured on my live stream, which is really rare, but it can happen and it does happen. So when it happens, I basically decided to have some fun with it and just basically name him my rival. So let's go ahead and do some puzzles. I'll do about 20. All right, white to move. And the reason I do this is because I find it very important. Oh, I didn't get out of here. 20 puzzles. Checks, captures, and threats are the best way to look at stuff. And for here, there's no real checkmate. You just have the queen in the middle. You have all these pieces. So there's no real checkmate that I can do. But I do have a capture. And that's a free piece. So I'm going to go ahead and take it. I don't have to look at it too much. In a game, I would pay attention to my opponent's threats a lot more. For example, if I were to capture here, what can my opponent do? He's targeting here. Queen's targeting. So he's targeting pawns that are defended. So I wouldn't really worry about it. There's no real actual full-on threat. So in a game, it's important to do that. When you do puzzles, it's a little different. But it's important to sometimes practice like you're in a game. This is a check. He's in a block, and that would be checkmate. I'm attacking the king. These are defended. So checks, captures, and threats. Same thing. This is a check. This is the first thing you look at is checks. The king cannot move forward because it's against the chess rules. The king cannot step into check and these squares will step into check. Kings can't capture each other. They basically can't be near each other. So all these squares are cut off by the king. The king only has these two squares he can move. And this rook calls check and covers all the squares. So he moves back and you take it. So, checks, captures, and threats. This is a capture and a check. You take the queen. You're threatening the king. This bishop is here, so it's a checkmate. It looks like Bowden's mate, if I'm correct. I think it's called Bowden's mate with two bishops like this. It's a little bit more on the side here, I believe, but it's still the same concept. It's just in the middle of the board, but the same idea of Bowden's mate. Checks, captures, and threats. Well, this time I'm in check, and he is coming down this way. His queen can come down here. So, let's pretend if I move, he can call it check again. So I have to be mindful of that. How do I defend? Well, if I move the bishop in the way, he'll just take it, right? So that's just garbage. There's nothing else I can do to throw in front of the king. So I'm going to be forced to come up here. And after he comes down and calls check again, I'm going to be forced to make a decision, right? Now, if I move back for any reason, his queen can come in and my king is really in bad spot, right? So when I move over and he calls check, which is what I'm expecting, I'm going to have to defend it somehow, all right? Now I have the queen and the bishop. So for defense purposes, let's pretend I move the queen and call it check, and he takes and I take, and it's check, right? Well, after that, I have a knight and a bishop, right? So to me, it doesn't seem right. So I think that after he calls check, I would go with the bishop because I don't want to play these two versus these two after a trade. So I'll do the bishop, he check. And the king can't go here because the pawns. The king can take here or go here or here, right? Now to decide what I'm doing after that. So move, check, block the check and doing my own check. And then from here, if he takes the pawn, I can take the knight. If he moves up one, I can take the knight. The only thing he can do is go here, all right? But from here, I can move my queen over to call it check. So he's in a pretty bad spot. I'm winning the knight no matter what. So I feel pretty comfortable. with it. They, in a game is super important to do. I know sometimes it's a little weird in the puzzles because they don't let you fully do it. Anytime, you can always put it down on a chessboard as well. Set it up if you need to, just to get it a little bit in. Black to move. This is a check. He has to move here. There's no other choice. And this is checkmate. That was pretty simple. This is check. He has one legal move. Then I take this pawn as check. He has to come back. And this rook is checkmate. And because he's blocked in. Both my rooks are here. They're both targeting these squares. This square is targeted by the rook, and he's blocked in by his own piece. All right. They didn't make me do it. All right. In checks, captures, and threats, this is a check. He cannot move forward because of the knight. The only other place he can do is go back, and that is a checkmate. So I don't even have to look at defense. If you see a checkmate, you don't need to look at defense because you win. So no reason to look at it. Check. Only square he can go is up here. I can come here and call it check again. And these two are covered by the knight. This is covered by the rook. This is covered by the pawn, right? So he has to come up. And after he comes up, remember, all these things are covered, right? They're all covered. So when I come here and call it check with the rook, that'd be checkmate. Because I already know everything is covered. That's why it's important to look at the squares that you're attacking. Yeah, they didn't make me do it, but it was checkmate next move. All right, here, this is a check. The king has to move up. He has no other place to go. And from here, my bishop can come in for check. Now, after I do that, the king only has one square to go. All right. And I can continue to harass the king from here. My rook is covering all these squares, and my bishop has these squares covered, right? These are all covered, right? And after the king goes here, if I call it check, he'd have to move up one. If I move my rook here and call it check, the king has no more squares because this is covered by the king, by my king. So it's checkmate. And then here is he comes down, and then this right here is checkmate because everything's covered. Like I already know everything's covered, right? All right. And it's super important to see those in games for two reasons: to checkmate your opponent when you can. Otherwise, you'd be like playing chess, and sometimes Stockfish, you'd be like, you missed this checkmate, you missed this checkmate. So it's important to visualize that also for defenses too. If you can visualize it, you can maybe defend against it, meaning you can not make a bad move that leads to checkmate against yourself. That's pretty much the idea, if you can. This is a free knight. And after he moves back, this is check. He takes, and that would be checkmate. I'm going to stop here and go with the, I usually do 20, but I think I explained a little bit more than normal. So for time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and get into the game. Let me see here. Play versus the bots. Pablo, my man. All right. I kind of want to do white, but I'll do random. They didn't give me the 15-minute thing. All right, that's fine. I'll try to make it fast. It's 1:23. I'll be done by at least 2 o'clock, so it's not too long. E4 is my go-to move all the time. Okay, we're gonna do the King's Gambit. He beat me last time with it. We're gonna do it again. All right, he does a different move this time. This time he does the Faulkner counter gambit. Now, if I move this pawn, I basically lost the game because he can come in and call it check. I'll move up. He'll take the pawn and then take my rook, right? And if I take here and he calls check, if I don't move the pawn up, I can move the king up, and then he's still coming in calling check, and then bringing the bishop in, and I'm like really bad, right? So You do not want to take this pawn in the Faulkner counter gambit. The correct move is to take this pawn. This is the correct move. And that's a little odd. Most people move the knight down, which is fine. I mean, your pawn down, I mean. It's a little bit more restrictive. Let me see here. I don't know book opening theory from this point, but I just use chess principles, and I come in and attack the queen. He can't call it check because it's covered by the knight, and he's covered. This diagonal is usually pretty weak. I can come here at some point, but I have to take this pawn first. Now, I like the idea of bringing my knight in usually early on, but here he'll just kick it away, right? So if I take it and he calls check, which is what I'm assuming he'd do, I can bring my bishop in and then castle, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm fine with that. Okay, he decides not to do that, which is perfectly fine. He did make a mistake, though, because I can... Oh, no, I can't do that yet. Because this is... Yeah, it's not defended. I have to bring this knight in first and then here. So if I bring my knight in, he can take... And everything's still fine. So developing, which is fine. I expected something like that. Now I can take if I wanted, and he can take back. I can just develop my bishop, and if he can decide to take one or the other, and I'm getting right to castle. So I'm okay with that. And if I go here, he can take, I can take, he can win a pawn that way, and I have to defend, right? Which I can decide 3 different ways to defend. So he has a little bit of a weird attack going on, but everything's pretty much covered. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, I'll take back. He decided not to take the pawn again. So this time I'm able to push up and defend the pawn. This pawn's defended by my queen. His queen's attacked, and this lets me castle. Because right now I can't castle because of the queen attack. So this right move right here is what I need to do. Knowing your d4 pushes and when to do it is super important when when you play e4. Knowing when to push d4 is super important. It's like really, gonna help you a lot for sure. He can't develop his bishop because this pawn. So something to keep in mind. I'm going castle. All right, and that's perfectly fine. I can defend this way, and then if he takes, I take back. After I defend, I'm thinking about pushing the pawn up. This pawn, even though it's not defended anymore when I do this, it's also not under attack. But I'm also keeping in mind so that I don't lose the pawn for free. I need to make sure that I don't do stuff like that. So, okay, that's a good move. I can push up. I think that'd be a good idea. But then he can take. I guess I can take. The queen won't be hit by the rook that's defended by the... So he would probably take back. And I think I'll lose a pawn if I did that. Went up. If he takes, I take, queen takes. I lost a pawn. I mean, I can move my knight back to hit the pawn and hit the queen. But I'm not sure if the queen can go anywhere that can defend the pawn, like back here. So I would just lose a pawn, and that would be it. I'm up a pawn, so if I sacrifice a pawn, if needed, that's okay too. It's not like really bad for me. I'm also thinking about going here. This is a nice attacking move because it looks like he wins the bishop. Actually, he does win the bishop because if I take it, I lose my queen, and then I can call it check and take his rook, which is bad. So this kind of looked okay for a little bit, but not anymore. This move over here, however, allows a trade. But then after the trade, he'll take my pawn. So I got to be mindful of like how to go about my attack. I can move the pawn up one. and just avoid that altogether and allow him to capture and I capture back, and my pawn structure is intact. And I think I'm going to do that. After looking at different ways to defend and attack, I realized that there's not much I can really do. So why not just push the pawn? Just push it, right? And now it's not an attack, and everything's okay. So go ahead. And that's fine. This is defended by the bishop, so it's not like it's undefended, and defended by the knight. It's over defended. He moves it down one. The pawn, this pawn is, I think, really badly placed. It's out. It's not really defended, and it's not really doing anything I can think of that's going to be meaningful. So I'm going to go ahead and mess with his bishop. I don't want to leave everything where it's at because my pieces will eventually be cramped. Hitting the queen, defending my pawn. Okay. Now, I'm thinking about pushing up because his king's in the open, right? His knight only can go here, right? So if I move this pawn up one, now his knight has nowhere to go, right? And I have these bishops, and I might be able to bring my queen in somehow. And I really think I can find and generate an attack against his king because he has not castled yet. It is move 14. The center's pretty much I have a lot of control in the center. I have a lot of space. I can use that to even gain more control. And this knight won't be able to develop. He won't be able to castle very easily. And also after moving here, I'm attacking this pawn again. So developing the bishop would be difficult. So I think this move right here is really good. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. That's check, and that's fine. This is defended. I made sure everything was taken care of. I can move back. See what his follow-up is. Okay, so he's not attacking anything right now. He just moved the queen again. I don't really know what he can do, to be honest. I'm thinking about moving my bishop in. The reason why, well, if he takes and I take, I'm attacking this pawn and trying to justify a move here that would be good is what I'm looking at right now. And this right here trades off my good bishop for his bad one, right? But it also allows my queen to come into the game and attack here, which he can't castle. And he might be able to push it, but then I can always push this pawn, hitting his rook. So I feel like this is a good move. It might not be the best move. I don't like. I feel like it has a little bit of issues. For example, it's active, and I'm trading it for an inactive piece. But I also gain an attack, and I want to win, right? Another way to attack would be to move here, which looks a little bit more natural. It's defended by the queen. It's hitting the square. The rook is hitting the square, right? But it has a drawback. If I go here, his bishop can defend. I take, he takes, right? But I can call check, but that's not a good check because his queen can take it. I'll take, and then my rook will come in. So it doesn't seem to work out, right? This looks more natural, but it doesn't seem to work out. This looks a little off, but I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I think I'm going to go ahead and make that move. So let's see here. Okay, he took it. It was expected. It helps him out a little bit. Queen move. Now, after I take here, he can castle queenside. But look at the pawns, right? Mine and his. So that'd be good for me, I think. Yeah, I can take this rook for free. So he basically just abandoned his rook for king safety, which if your king's unsafe, you lose the game. So maybe he's hoping, if he was a human, I would assume he's hoping for a comeback. As a computer, I think he's just trying his best, I guess, to salvage it. So I can always go here, attacking the queen, or I can take the rook. The difference is if I attack the queen, it can be a trade, and that would be really good for me. This is also good for me. And if he doesn't trade and he moves away, let's say over here, for example, I have a check, and the king will move back. But I have nothing else after that. I can win the rook. This pawn's protecting this. This is protecting this. And I think since they both seem to be equal value, a pawn and a queen for a rook, or this move check, and I still take the rook. I like it because instead of just taking the rook outright, the reason I like this better is because I get to bring my other rook in the game right away. And I don't have to worry about this because my bishop is protecting it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do the attacking part. Okay, so now I get to win the queen. Now I can, if I want to, take the knight, right? The only problem I have with that is that he can attack my queen. And then if I take his queen, he takes my queen, I take the rook. Oh, I win the knight and the rook. And we trade queens. That's actually really not bad at all. I was a little worried about it, but now that I look at it a second time, I actually like it. I take he also can just move the queen up. And now I just win a knight instead of a queen. So he has that move as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the queen. I hope you, if you're watching, you're learning the idea of like trying to come up with plans and ideas and reasons for different moves and then calculating. This is where the puzzles come into play. A lot of people say you can't use puzzles in chess. Yes, you can. This is how you do it. I'm attacking it. If he moves, this is checkmate. All right, he didn't move, but I still can take with a check, forcing his king over, right? And I win a knight. So just win a knight. And then here, I can reinforce my queen. He can't attack it again because my pawn. So I'm pretty good. I'm in a very good position. This should be a very easy win. If I want to stop all threats, I just move my bishop here and literally trade, right? Everything off, and I'll have a queen. I'll have a rook and a bishop, and he'll have nothing because he can't move. Anywhere he moves, I take you with the pawn, right? So the only thing he really can try to do is take this pawn. And then if I take this rook, he takes here, right? But that's his only try. The drawback is I can just take this rook for free, and I'm threatening checkmate, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I win both rooks or checkmate. Okay, I win both rooks. When you're up in material and you're able to trade, you trade. You know, you're trying to win, and there's no reason to give your opponent any chances. I used to give my opponent chances a lot because I'd feel bad, you know, and there's no place in chess for that, you know. There really isn't. So here he's attacking the pawn. I can defend it, and then he will take this one, which is fine, right? So if I defend it, which way is better? I like this way better because my bishop has these three diagonals. If I go over here, it has these two, and I have these pawns. But I kind of want to open this up for my rook. So I'm going to go this way. And if he takes, I open this up for my rook. So that's why I chose this square instead of this square. And even though it's winning, I still have to think like chess, right? I'm still playing chess. I'm not like, oh, I'm just going to win, do whatever. I move my bishop back. So now his king cannot move because this is all covered by the rook. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But I want to see something. If I go back here and then with the pawn up and call it check, he can't go here because the bishop, and then I can make a queen. So he's going to be let out of the cage, but I'm making a queen, and then I'm going to checkmate. I'm going to go all the way back. Yeah, make a queen. And just do a simple checkmate with the queen and rook. I'm gonna go this way and just bring everything this way. I like this pattern. This is a pattern that I do enjoy. It's with the queen and the rook, where they basically stay like that the whole entire time. And I can call check. He'll take the bishop though, which is fine. Because after I call check and he takes the bishop, I believe that would be checkmate. So check. And then I call check. And he can't move here or here with a piece of queens. I checkmate with a pawn. So that's a good way to beat my rival, right? The guy that smashed me my other time that I tried playing him. All right. Well, that was pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with that win. Yeah. If you watched the other one, that's 0-0. Okay, that's good. If you watched the other one, it was like a misunderstanding of a positional situation that I did that ruined the whole game for me. So like learning tactics is super important to get like maybe to 1,200, like just straight on tactics. You probably can do that, but misunderstanding like a positional thing can really ruin your game at some point. So I hope you enjoyed. I know I did. I'm gonna see if I can share it real quick to the groups. Yeah, it's not popping up on my YouTube to share. So yeah, all right. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.